This video is a demo and review of the XTUGA X-4 multi-directional condenser USB microphone, which you can see here is an absolute unit of a mic. You can already kind of hear how it sounds, but let's talk about this beast and hear some more sound samples so you can decide if this microphone is right for you. Welcome to Get Offset. My name is Emily and your eyebrows look wonderful today. This video is sponsored by XTUGA, but thoughts and opinions are all mine. Ears are all yours though. There used to be one USB microphone to rule them all. You know the one I'm talking about. Big silver microphone named after a cryptozoological creature. Well, that hasn't been the case for years now. The market for podcast/gaming/streaming microphones has no shortage of quality, affordable options, and it takes a lot to stand out. Let's go over this microphone one element at a time. But first, if at any point you decide that this mic is right for you, please check out the affiliate link in my video description, down there somewhere, and use the code JDIFJK for, I believe it's 5% off your purchase. The code is also typed out in the video description. I'm sorry that it's not personalized. It'll save you about $6 USD on this microphone, which retails at $119.99. I'll also pepper in some non-talking examples of this mic in action, including on acoustic guitar and an amplifier. The first thing I want to talk about is the packaging. The X4 comes with this really nice, shockingly robust little case. I mean, this isn't like a high quality metal or anything like that, but it's better than nothing at all. And if you look inside, it's foam in the shape of the microphone, so it won't wiggle around in transit and get damaged. It's a really nice touch, and it'll be great to have if you plan on traveling with this, say if you want to record podcasts on location. The next thing to mention is the size. This thing is honestly pretty massive. I think it's about the same size as a Blue Yeti, which is not a positive nor a negative. I don't think size really matters in this instance, but it might matter to you. It comes with a sturdy base for your desk, and this is kind of a small thing, but I like the design of the base. Some USB mics, including the one I have been using, have a round base, which is sturdy, but it feels like it takes up more desk space. The way the base is designed, you can kind of slide things underneath it, like a wallet or a phone or guitar picks. It's nice to have when your desk is already crowded. That being said, again, this thing is pretty big, so it is going to take up a fair amount of desk space. You can also mount this to a microphone stand like it is right now. The mount is on the bottom along with a headphone out and an aux out. Both of those are 1/8 of an inch connections. The aux out could be used to go, say, directly into a camera, but you would still need to be powering this with a USB-C connection. You don't have to, in other words, it doesn't have to be plugged into a computer to work, but it needs to be plugged into some sort of a power source. And this is a condenser microphone, so that's just kind of how condenser microphones work. They need external power. So I'm talking through the front of this microphone and you're looking at the back side. The front has 2 dials, mic volume and headphone volume. I will show you those. The back has all the different polar patterns. For those who don't know, not all microphones capture audio in the same way. You can get mics with different polar patterns, and that dictates the direction or directions from which the mic is picking up audio. Cardioid is what I'm using now, and that's what most people will probably stick to. It's the heart-looking one. Other patterns include omnidirectional, so that's the one that's just a circle, and it means it will be picking up sound from all directions equally. This is really only useful if you have this sitting on a conference table. People around the conference table, they're talking, they all need to kind of be heard at the same volume level, but it's going to pick up like everything in the room. As you can see, I am on the circle that's omnidirectional, and that means if I move around, you can still hear it, which on one hand, it means you don't have to stay on the mic, but it is capturing absolutely everything all around us. You might be able to hear the computer that's on. You might be able to hear the rain outside. I'm not sure because I'm not monitoring it, but that is the idea of omnidirectional. You also have bidirectional, which I'm using right now. That's the 2 circles that are sitting right next to each other. But as you can see, I'm no longer talking into the front of the microphone. That's because bidirectional captures what's in front of and behind the microphone equally. So you turn that on and you should be able to hear what I'm saying from behind the mic. I turn it back around, you should be able to hear that. But things that are over here and things that are over here, you shouldn't be able to hear as well. Again, this is not going to be perfect. This is helpful though. This is a good mode for if you're recording a 2-person podcast and you're sitting across from each other, or if you have 2 singers who are singing across from each other, instrumentalists. It's kind of a fun and I think fairly useful polar pattern. The last mode is the stereo mode. And can you not hear me quite as well anymore? How about now? Oh, am I just on one side? How about now I'm on the other side? This is stereo mode, which as the name implies, gives you a stereo signal. So it's taking from the left and the right, not from the front or the back. Get that back to cardioid so you can hear me better again. Again, you will most likely use cardioid most of the time with a microphone like this. Cardioid is designed to capture audio in front of, but not behind or to the sides. So shouldn't be capturing as much audio around there. It's not going to be perfect though, and you shouldn't expect it to be, but it does help reduce sounds from a whirring computer or a snoring dog. There's also a mute button on the back here. I don't like the positioning of that mute button. It really should be in the front. I'm fine with the direction selector being in the back because you're not going to use it very often, but you can't see when the mute's engaged, which is kind of annoying, honestly. I've never seen a mute button on the back of a microphone like that. Getting the XTUGA X-4 to work with my computer was super easy. I plugged it in and it just worked. XTUGA does give you instructions for Mac and Windows 10 if you're having trouble though, but for the most part, USB microphones are all fairly plug and play. The only thing to consider is if you have external speakers and suddenly they're not working when you're using this microphone, you are probably going to want to set it so that your audio output is the speakers you're used to and the audio input device is this. If you're only using the headphone jack, then you can just use this as your audio in and out, but I really don't like that USB microphones do that. But this is not a problem with XTUGA. This seems to be all of them. They all want to, by default, be your input and output devices. The target market for this microphone is gamers, streamers, podcasters, and anyone who has to do online conference calls. It can also be handy for recording acoustic guitars, amps, and vocals, but only if it sounds good. Okay, let's get into the pros and cons, and these are strictly my opinion. Obviously, the most important thing about this microphone or any microphone is how it sounds. And from what I've heard, I generally think it sounds good. It's definitely going to beat your laptop's built-in mic. It's going to beat your AirPod mics, any kind of headphone microphone, it's going to be better than. And I think it sounds a lot better than the ubiquitous Blue Yeti, which isn't really in vogue anymore, but I still think it's important to talk about that versus really any other USB microphone on the market. The carrying case is also a big plus, as is ease of use. The polar patterns are nice to have, but I still think most customers will use the cardioid pattern 90% of the time. There are certainly cheaper options, but I've heard some of those and though not all of them, I just want to say I haven't seen a good USB microphone under $100 that I would recommend to anybody, period. I've been sifting through the layers of dusty books and faded papers. They tell a story I used to know. There's one that happened so long ago. The cons, and some of these are just personal preferences, It's big. It's really, really big. My day-to-day USB mic is a lot smaller, literally half the size of this. It doesn't have those other polar patterns, but for the last time, I promise, I just don't need those. When I think about the things that I think people may want to be concerned about, or I should probably say things I'd like you to be aware of involving this mic, a big issue is part of its very nature. That it's a condenser microphone. Unless we're talking a super high quality cardioid condenser mic, which those can be thousands of dollars, you're going to pick up a fair amount of room noise or generally any noise you may not want to hear. I forget who told me this, but you cannot hide from a condenser microphone. It captures everything. I bet it captured the car zooming down my street, even though I'm not even facing the street. By their nature, condenser mics are more sensitive and dynamic when compared to, ironically, a dynamic microphone. That's, again, the nature of this style of microphone, even on the cardioid pattern. A pretty prime example of this was when I was using this microphone on acoustic guitar. When I was finger picking, I'm sure you could hear perhaps some friction of the guitar if it shifted on my lap. You may have been able to hear my breathing, which is kind of embarrassing. And there are things you can do to lessen these noises, but like I said before, these are just things you need to be aware of. Ultimately, I would absolutely recommend the XTUGA X-4 to someone who is considering it. Again, check out the video description for an affiliate link and a discount code. If you liked this video, check out the one on the screen over there, which YouTube has selected just for you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for understanding. Until next time, my name is Emily. Goodbye.